Hey, No Code Ops, Phil here. And today I'm joined by not one, but two awesome guests. We have Shaf, who is now the community manager of No Code Ops. Hey, Shaf, welcome.
Thank you, Phil. Nice to be
Hey,
here.
good to have you. And our guest today is John Strugum, who heads the solution services team at Coda. John, welcome to the Aha Moment demo show.
Hey, everyone. Excited to be here.
Cool. So, John, Shaf and I are huge fans of Coda, but for the audience, can you give a bit of overview of Coda, what it is, how it came to be? Yeah, would love to hear that.
Yeah, totally. We can start with the one-liner, and then really the product speaks for itself. So hoping
Cool.
to hop in a few seconds. So
Great.
you can imagine Coda as blending the best of documents, spreadsheets, and apps together into one surface. And honestly, bunch of teams and different use cases use it, but it's a lot of operations teams. So you can think product ops, biz ops, people ops, sales ops will use it to bring their teams together, align on mission, strategy, write-ups, and work better together.
Awesome. And one just overall question on that front. If someone were to ask the question, what are the main differences between something like Coda versus something like Notion? Where would you put that?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think the starting of both tools began in very different places. Coda was very much like this no code, lightweight surface that you can integrate with other systems. And Notion started as this like wiki, a better folder filing cabinet, and we're putting content in one place. And over the years, we've actually evolved into basically this all-in-one doc space of, well, you're blending like words and content, but we also have like systems and processes built into the same place. So I would say, while we're getting similar, we're also starting to get not similar. So Coda has really invested in like the API and the integrations and the pack surfaces, while Notion has continued to double down in the like the content and the comments and kind of like the word collaboration side of the house. But I would imagine we continue to kind of battle it out within the space as we define the differences.
So cool, man. Cool to hear from an insider perspective.
Yeah.
Amazing. So
Well,
yeah, if you
should
want to
we,
dive into more about Coda, Shaf and I have tons of questions we'd love to ask.
Let's do it. And by the way, my screen share is disabled. I don't know if you have to enable it.
You know what's so cool is when you've been doing this for a while, just being really good at it is awesome. There you go. We used to do these in Google Meet and we switched to Zoom. So yay for process.
Awesome. How's the move over been?
It's been great. I gotta be honest, we tried Google Meet at first just because it came with G Suite. We're like, you know what? Let's just give this a shot. We just ran into issues with just stability, to be honest, was the biggest issue. So yep, and reliability. So we switched to Zoom and it's been good.
Well, welcome to the Zoom world. All right, so what we're looking at is a Coda doc, and this is where most of the experiences with Coda start. So I'm going to just choose icon. And what we have here is a page, and the page is going to feel really similar to a Google Doc when you open it up. Like you can write here, you can comment, you can collaborate, you can add people. Phil, I don't think you're in this, but maybe I can invite you into it. Hey, what's up?
Hey.
Came from my Google contacts. Actually, that's pretty wild. Never seen that before. And
love discovering features while demoing. This is great.
I know, right? That's awesome.
And so basically, it starts off very simple like a doc. It evolves a bit more than what you expect in Google Docs. You have things like checklists. So you're starting to get into like a little bit of process here. And then as you saw there with comments, you can @mention anything. So I can @mention people, I can @mention other things. As we kind of build this up, you'll see more things that we can connect together. But at the very basics, we have different pages. So I can say, hey, connect to this page, or I can even create new pages on the left-hand side, kind of like different tabs in a spreadsheet. So I can start carving out different sections within the stock.
Super cool.
So I'll just pause there. Anything that we want to explore more before going next?
Yeah. So linking pages to one another. Yeah. Would just love to like, so are all those pages essentially living in like this overall folder structure to the left? Yeah.
Yeah, and this actually gets into the differences between a Google Doc or even a Notion, where
Yeah.
Coda has a doc and has many pages. So you can create as many pages as you want. You can move them around. You can nest them. So this kind of becomes a folder structure in some sense.
Got
But
it.
also, this is a doc
Mhm.
sitting within your workspace. So within every business, you would have multiple docs and folders, kind of like you would in Google Drive.
Super cool.
Great question. What people like to often do next is embed stuff into the doc. So oftentimes as operators, we're working in something like Lucidchart or Miro. So you can bring in those boards and illustrations directly into it. So oftentimes when you try to get your idea across, you're embedding and you're putting in different things. You can also embed fun things like, hey chef, really like this tweet of yours. I'm going to pull it in to here as well.
I love this.
Oh, thank you. Just outing my childhood picture out there. I see. I love that.
Beautiful.
Love it.
And oftentimes what we see in like a project brief is people are kind of similar to a doc, writing out their problem, where they're going. And then what's been really fun, especially with like an async culture, remote culture, or like different time zones, Atlanta all the way to Malaysia, we usually like to say, hey, like, did you read this? Or do you like this idea or not? So you can start putting some interactivity into the doc to start getting some of that like async feedback, because as we all know, we're getting burnt down on Zoom on these synchronous sort of meetings. So put in your idea, illustrate it the best possible, and then get people's thoughts.
Super cool. You know,
Oh, this
one
is
thing that
super
I
cool.
noticed that you did there, if you, on the embeds, that really interesting is you didn't get the embed code from those sites. You just got the link and then turned it into an embed via Coda.
I did, yeah. So there's
Super
a
cool.
few ways to pull things in. For Miro, like the view-only version is you just pull in the Miro board and the URL. Same with Figma. If you want it to be more interactive, you could go through the official embed way, so you can put
Right.
comments from a Coda doc. But yeah, two ways to drop it in.
Super cool.
Also,
Cool.
quick
So,
question on
oh
my
yeah,
end. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry about that.
No, yeah.
But is that like a template that you use for the measurement, time, and budget? How did you like bring that up?
yeah, my
I
wavy
kind of like
hand
missed
magic.
that.
So there's a few ways to pull in templates. I'll show if you're getting started with Coda, the first and the easiest way is your explore panel will be up anytime you create a new doc, and templates is the first one. So it actually shows the last few templates that I've used. So you can just drag
Right.
and drop this in. For example, I'll pull in a new one that I use all the time. It's my personal task tracker. But you can also search and like, okay, maybe I'm marketing ops or product ops. You can see other examples across the Coda ecosystem here.
Got it. So you can both like pull in templates that have been created by Coda, by potentially other Coda makers who've made it public, and ones you've made in the past.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So there's a few different
That's super
ways to like,
helpful.
it's almost like a GitHub open source of different folks like ideas and way of operating.
Yeah.
So I'm just putting in some example tasks right here. I'll actually show the two different ways that I pulled in. So one is just pulling in from the building blocks here. So I can pull in blank building blocks like a table. So I can start from scratch, kind of similar to when you open up a Google Sheet. But you can also pull in these templates that we see on the right hand side.
So one note on the tables, what's really interesting is almost like right when Coda came out, I remember using Coda, like just being like, oh, this idea is very interesting around like having data in this format that you can move around, relate to other sources of data. And I just remember like, this was a few years back, just being, to be frank, like super confused with Coda early on, you know?
Yeah,
And being like, oh man, I don't get how this works. And then recently it's become like a lot easier. Just, can you talk to me about the difference y'all have made from like early on in the product? Whereas it seemed like super formula heavy, like you really needed to know how to operate a spreadsheet to operate Coda, to where it is now.
Yeah, totally. So I guess there's two places to start. So first we can start off with views and how it's a lot easier to create views. And then the second one is your community is familiar with like relational databases. So it's connecting two tables together. We've made that a lot easier for people who aren't familiar with like an Airtable or a relational database.
Super cool.
So I think one of the first things that we did is made it a lot easier to create new views. So what I could do is like, let's say that my team, I happen to really love spreadsheets and lists like this, but my team is obsessed with Trello and I can't get them off of it. So what I can do here is create like a task board. And so we've made this process a lot easier of not creating new boards and having to marry them up, but automatically being able to connect that task list to a task board in this sense. So you don't have to finagle around with any of the setup. It's going to look and feel a lot like Trello as you move things around through the process.
Very cool.
So that's one of the things that we worked on. Another is actually drag and drop anything. So drag and drop pages. You can drag and drop tasks now or tables. So I can pull it into my own space. Like for example, here in the maybe in the task board example, if people are really into Trello, then I'm going to pull that into my own space. So that this kind of like building blocks, moving things around physically instead of having to like use formulas or copy and paste has made it a lot friendlier as well.
Super awesome.
So that was the first part of it. The second part of it was on the formula side. Was there like a formula that you two often use? Because I can show how that looks and feels.
Oh man, Shaf, any thoughts on that front?
I actually don't use many formulas, so I don't.
Yeah, I really don't use like a ton of them. We mainly like a lot of like what we'll do, like even like in our Airtable setup right now is we'll relate different information from like different tables to each other to like be a lookup list or something like that.
Yeah. Okay,
yeah, that's
cool.
a big one for us.
I'll show you the simplest formula here, and then we're going to go look at lookups. So what I could do is if I head over here into the formulas, kind of like in Sheets, you can click equals or you can click the formulas, and then we made it a lot easier to click and select different things. So for example, like due date minus start date, you don't have to do B2 minus A3.
Oh, wow.
Just reference full columns, and then you can start calculating like how long a task is.
That is
That's probably
so easy.
Probably the simplest. Yeah, no drag and drop. You add a new row, it's actually automatically calculating that for you. So it's really like composable and extendable.
Super
all right,
cool.
So lookups.
Yeah.
Going off tasks. Well, we can connect it to clients. We can connect it to programs. Anything you want to connect this to?
I mean, how deep can we go?
You go as deep as you want. Let's do clients since we're both on the services side.
Sure.
So we'll do ABC Corp. Maybe no code ops as a client. We'll throw a little on deck into there as well.
Great.
So anytime you add a new column, you can choose the data type. So in this case, we're going to be connecting it to another table. And now I can say something like this task is for these folks. These three are for the no code ops team. Last one is for on deck no code. By the way, little trick that we just launched, I can now freeze columns so I can see them when I scroll to the right.
Oh, beautiful.
And then
this is good.
What we made a lot easier is the other way around, which Airtable actually automatically has, but we noticed that most people are building lighter databases in Coda, so we don't automatically put it in, but we do make it one click to do the reverse, saying like, okay, for this client, here are the tests that are associated with them.
Amazing.
Oh, this is super cool.
Did we get some mini ahas?
Yeah, we definitely got some ahas.
Yeah, definitely. You should rewatch this video and just like visualize my face, like because my facial expressions change every time you show us something new. I'm just like, whoa, yeah,
Yeah.
do continue because this is awesome.
And then,
Love it.
John, let me ask this to go one step deeper. So you're relating data that you already have somewhere in Coda, right? Can you bring in data through like an external API, like somewhere outside of Coda?
Yeah, totally. So a really common one that we're seeing, especially in product ops, is a lot of people are really heavily invested in the Atlassian ecosystem.
Yep.
So Confluence and Jira. And
Yep.
oftentimes what they're doing is they're moving off of Confluence into Coda, but then Jira is a little sticky. Like some engineers love it, designers and a few engineers really hate it. So for the time being, if you're not moving off of Jira or other tools, you can pull them in through our packs. And so if you head over here to explore, we were using templates earlier and we're building with some of these lighter weight building blocks. If you're looking for something like importing or integration or connecting, you can then look at the packs library, if you will, and you can look at the full stack. And hopefully this is a common stack that you all are using, especially in the communication space, Slack and Gmail. But you can integrate with all of these tools into your Coda doc.
Very cool.
Which means if you're in product ops, you can pull down live sync tables of issues in a project, all of your epics across the entire product development lifecycle, and you can start marrying them up with different things. So people are integrating them with PRDs and their write-ups. They're connecting OKRs and their goal tracking to the things that you're actually doing. So this has been really, really exciting, marrying up and pulling in things like Jira. By the way, all this data is live. It refreshes every hour.
So awesome. I mean, I definitely do think that the future of different like departments within a larger company are each going to have their own ops person, whether they're, most of them will be pretty proficient in no code. And what those folks will be doing is creating views and systems for people in their department to connect with the rest of the organ that their department is comfortable with. So, we're not going to live in a future where everyone's forced to use one tool in a very specific way, which then ends up getting no adoption. So this kind of stuff with Jira is incredible.
Yeah, and I feel like you're starting to see it in the ops space of starting to lean heavily on BI tools where you're dropping into data warehouses and visualizing it or having some other higher level metrics. But then if you look deep down, so many people are just exporting CSVs and importing them into Excel. So we're getting a little bit of BI excitement, but a lot of that like, oh, I don't have to export, manipulate data, revisualize it for different stakeholders. So I'm really, really excited about these sort of integrations.
Super cool.
On two sides on this, if you don't see something that you want to integrate with, but isn't already in the packs, we're actually next week launching the ability for anyone to build their own pack. So that's really exciting. The PAX SDK is just coming in a week. Can't demo it now. Well, maybe by the time you're watching this, it's already out.
Love it.
So we just had what we called a packathon, an internal hackathon to build packs. So things like HubSpot, Facebook ads. What else did we do? Oh, we built a Twitter pack to be able to like push tweets and see likes and live stats. So there was a lot that we developed this last week that I'm really excited to launch.
Awesome. And then last major question is, someone in operations, let's even say Shaf, right? Who just like became like the community manager for no code ops, right? She opens up Coda for the first time. What's something she can do to like just start like getting her feet wet with the product, understanding it, understanding the power of it? Like, what's the first thing that you'd have someone do?
There's two paths of the builder. So let me know which one aligns more with you, Chef. If you have a Coda account, coda.new creates any new Coda doc. And I love to start from like the blank surface and just play around, usually in the templates here. So I'm pulling in templates that look really interesting to me, or I'm even like, I wonder if anyone's using Coda for CRMs. Hey, it looks like they are. And I'm pulling them in and just like live tinkering and building. So that's one approach that we see for folks. The other is if you head over to the gallery, this is the more public gallery, almost like a GitHub or a mix with maybe like a Stack Overflow. And different teams are publishing how they're working with Coda. So for example, Kleiner Perkins just launched a report. They put that in the gallery. Product ops manager from Miro just shared like, this is how we like integrate with Miro at Miro and work with Coda. So there's a lot of really fun examples in here. If you're the person who's like, I want to see full solution, full use case and story before I start tinkering. So kind of two ways. I'm curious, Chef, do you have approach? Are you more the blank
For me,
surface or the like, I want to see the case study
I'm
first?
more of the blank surface type of girl. Like I would usually, because I have like ideas visualized in my head, and I kind of just like to go in blank and kind of just, you know, draw everything out myself. And then after, if I'm stuck somewhere, then I would go to the gallery to see, and the templates as well, to see if I can, you know, pick and choose which works for me, and then kind of implement it onto what I've created so far. If that makes sense. That's what I would usually do.
That's my very biased approach as well. Just pulling in some of the basic forms, looking at it. And then if I want to like impress my VP of like all the things you could do with Coda, then I'm sharing the gallery docs.
Yeah. Same here.
Super cool. Well, John, this was awesome. Should folks in the audience want to learn more about Coda or dive right in, what would be next steps for them?
Well, a few places. So coda.io, and head over there. You can sign up. It's free to start with, and you can actually build quite large docs for free to get your team involved in testing and prototyping. And then the other place to start is, since I'm the tinker, I love to watch YouTube videos alongside creating blank docs. So there's a lot of Coda YouTube videos out there, not only from our education team, but from other makers like yourself. So those are two good ways to get started.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much for joining us. And yeah, you heard it here, I guess, first-ish. Go create within Coda. I love it.
Awesome. Thanks, Phil. Thanks, Chef.
Cool. Thanks, y'all.